I want to start by asking you, Ravi, about Trump coming in as president once again. What is it that frightens you the most?
Gosh, well, if you look at his agenda, I think the two things that scare me the most in the immediate term are tariffs and deportations. Both could be very destabilizing. Both could have impacts that affect not just the American economy, but the world itself. If you look at tariffs, to start with that, Trump has said he would impose anywhere from 25 to 40% tariffs on a range of countries, including allies and neighbors, maybe up to 200% on Chinese EVs. All of that could be immensely destabilizing for business. What strikes me as strange about it is that if you listen to the people who, in Trump land, who believe in tariffs, these are longer-term policies that make sense over time, if they make sense at all, in a trickle-down sense. But Trump is a short-term guy. He's not a long-term guy. So if there's any inflation, which tariffs cause, if there is market pressure, which tariffs cause, he might backtrack. So that'll be very interesting to see how that plays out in the first few weeks. And then deportations. This could be inhumane. It could be cruel. We don't know the extent to which he's going to lean into that. America has around about 11 million undocumented immigrants. Trump has claimed the numbers as high as 21 million. So the delta between what he might do and could do is extremely large. And the next few weeks will
Is it likely to be notional, just to show that he's flexing his muscles and sending some people across the border? Or do you think he could go the whole out?
We don't know. I mean, that's the scary thing about Trump world, and that he can do anything. But you have to prepare for the worst. And this is, again, where the market might react in a very strong way, because A, it costs a lot of money to deport people, just in terms of the actual policing of it. But also, this is not good for the economy. If you think of 40% of undocumented workers are in the agricultural sector, so picking oranges, for example. Who's going to do that work? Who's going to do all the other types of work, whether it's construction or washing dishes that undocumented workers do? There will be trickle-up effects on all kinds of industries that could lead to an outcry from many of Trump's friends and allies as well.
Ishaan Tharoor, last time Trump came in, it was a bit of a surprise for him. It was a surprise for the rest of the world. It was a surprise for everyone at Davos. This time, everyone knows that he's back. He's far muscular, stronger, more certain, has a better team. What do you expect his most immediate action agenda to be?
Well, you're right that he comes in this time around with fewer surprises around him. His first term was a jolt, disrupted in various ways. Now he's almost conditioned the world to expect him. And we know that the first day he takes office, he's going to sign or raft dozens of executive orders. We'll get a glimpse of what his agenda will be when he does that. Those will include things like scrapping subsidies for electrical vehicles, perhaps some sort of signaling around the border and border policy, signaling his kind of culture war over diversity. But I think more broadly, we will see a Trump in his second term who is much more gloves off, who has many more loyalists in Congress, controls both chambers of Congress, and will be acting as if he has a much larger mandate than he may actually have.
Gideon Rachman, from the perspective of the rest of the world, what, according to you, is the greatest damage that Donald Trump can cause?
Well, I have to say, I sit in Europe, and there's a particular perspective here if you're Britain or the European Union, which is that Trump has, and the people around Trump, have a pretty clear hostility to the EU. And there's a very uncomfortable sense that in addition to all the kind of stuff that Ravi's talking about, like tariffs, which affects everybody, there is an agenda to kind of, if you like, get the European Union. And if you look at the people who Trump has invited to his inauguration from Europe, they're the far right, essentially. Giorgia Meloni of Italy has been a slightly more centrist figure, but you have the Alternative for Deutschland, who many in Germany regard as a party that flirts with Nazism. You have people from the far right in France, and meanwhile in the UK, Elon Musk, who's obviously so close to Trump, is actually calling for the overthrow of the British government on X, and accusing them of being pedophiles and so on. So it's a very difficult and uncertain period. And if you take, say, Britain, for example, if we really are now facing a United States that's actively hostile to our government, that really calls into question the structure of 70 years of British foreign policy. We're deeply integrated with America on national security, on intelligence, on nuclear weapons. If America is now hostile to us, it's the same as with Canada. What do you do? I mean, it's a really fundamental question for the UK and for Europe.